Allô, Nissan? Hey, grosse tempête, hein?
Hey, Karine, oui, je sais, les vilains bonhommes de neige sont de retour.
Mais avec le Nissan Rogue à traction intégrale, c'est pas stressant.
Exact, il est conçu et testé pour nos hivers. Oh, Karine, il y a un bonhomme dans le Rogue.
Ah, c'est correct. J'ai allumé les sièges chauffants.
Ah, bien joué, Karine. Maîtrisez toutes les conditions. Louez le Rogue S 2026 à partir de 0,4% jusqu'à 36 mois, incluant une réduction fidélité de 0,5% pour les clients Nissan admissibles. Jusqu'au 2 mars, sur approbation de crédit, les conditions s'appliquent. Détails chez Nissan.
All right, Dr. Christopher Labos is on the line, regular contributor here on CJAD 800, and we've invited him on to talk about flu season, cold season, everything season, and how to gear up for it. Dr. Labos, welcome back.
Hello.
Okay, let's talk about this, right? And I'll just take it from my personal perspective, right? I'm looking at fall and winter. And I don't want to get sick. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, it sucks. And I'm forgetting the timeline. Like a month ago, I missed 3 days here because the whole family came down with something. We don't know what it was. Was it COVID? Was it a flu? Was it a cold? All we know is we stayed inside the house for a few days. So as I look at wanting to just be healthy over the next 6 months as we go through the cold months, what's the strategy, Dr. Labos?
Well, there's a few different things that you can do. The one that you have most control over as an individual is, because now we're getting into the vaccination campaign season, is to go get vaccinated against the stuff that is circulating. So that includes not just COVID, but also influenza and also RSV, if you meet the specific criteria. So the influenza vaccine is being offered free of charge to everybody. The COVID vaccine is being offered free of charge to everybody as well. The RSV vaccine, which is being rolled out, it's still unclear who are the groups that are going to be covered or not. In theory, it's supposed to be freely available to everybody over the age of 60, although I actually just checked on the Click Santé website today, and maybe it hasn't been updated yet, so I quite don't know what's happening there in terms of coverage. Mm-hmm. But those are sort of the big three viruses that typically circulate in the winter that we have vaccines against that will be helpful. They won't prevent 100% of infections, but they will help decrease the likelihood of you getting sick, and they will very certainly decrease the likelihood that you will end up in hospital, which makes a difference because being able to write out something at home is much better than having to go to the emergency room.
As we wrapped up the summertime, I know a whole bunch of people that they tested, and they're like, oh, I got COVID, right?
Yeah.
If you got COVID in the last few months, should you get a COVID vaccine?
You should wait at least 3 months, probably closer to somewhere between 3 and 6 months, because if you just recently got COVID, you do have circulating antibodies against the virus now, and getting an additional dose of a vaccine isn't going to change that in any meaningful way. So what's the optimal time after infection to get vaccination? There's probably a range, and that's why there's, somewhere between 3 and 6 months is probably the optimal timing. So you might need to defer it if you just recently got sick, as, unfortunately, a lot of people did towards the end of the summer.
And, what about this, right? We're talking about COVID and flu and RSV. And let's say I'm eligible, so I can get all three. Do I just, I'm Click Santé and I sign up for all three and I go on the same day and I get 3 shots? Do I need to space them out? What about that?
You don't need to. I mean, you can if you want to. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were telling people to not get everything on the first date because we didn't want people to start mixing up the side effects, and you wanted to get a better sense of what was causing which types of side effects in who. Given that most people now have enough firsthand experience that they'll probably know, just for convenience, you can get them all at the same time. And for most people, it's going to be a lot easier to make one appointment rather than to make 2 or 3 appointments. Now, if you want to space them out because you have free time on your hands and you want to do that, that is fine as well. But there's no harm and there's no contraindication to getting them all together.
We're with our superstar medical contributor here at CJAD 800, Dr. Christopher Labos, talking about the fall cold and flu and COVID and RSV season. So, Dr. Labos, just looking at best practices here and who should really be making sure that they get up to date on the vaccinations.
So the short answer to your question is everybody. The more nuanced answer to the question is that, everybody is going to be at different levels of risk. The highest risk groups are the ones who are targeted by the government and got sort of the pre-rollout vaccination. So this is the very elderly, the people who are living in long-term care homes, the people who have pre-existing medical problems, things like, cystic fibrosis, underlying lung diseases, stuff like that, the people who are immunocompromised. So sort of the same high-risk groups that we've always been talking about. That being said, though, there is still a benefit. I mean, I will tell you for nothing, I'm planning to get the updated, COVID booster and the influenza shot, because even though I am, relatively young and pretty healthy, all things considered, I don't want to get sick. I don't want to have long persistent symptoms after a COVID infection. And the one thing we do know with the COVID shot in particular, it does reduce the incidence of all of those things. You may not be able to completely avoid an infection, but it is going to make the difference between it being a relatively short infection that passes quickly versus something where you have symptoms that linger for weeks or sometimes even months after the fact.
And now I just loaded up clicksante.ca. You said off the top here that you've gone to the website as well. So just take us through this. Maybe people aren't aware, right? Like right now, you just go to Clicksante, you pop in your postal code, and you can find the appointments geographically closest to you. And all these are without, you don't pay, right? These are without fees.
No, you don't. You don't pay. I mean, the vaccines are offered free of charge for people who are not technologically savvy. And, some people are not good with the internet. The easiest thing is to ask a friend or a family member to do the appointment for you.
Yeah.
There's a number you could call, but most of these vaccines are being offered at the pharmacy as well. You can inquire at your local pharmacy, and perhaps they can help you with the making of the appointment as well. So there's multiple ways to get around this. The one good thing that has come out of this is that we have really decentralize the administering of vaccines, and in many places you could just go to your local pharmacy, which is going to be a lot easier for people than having to go to a clinic or a hospital.
And that's the thing, like just looking for myself, and what's our date here? October 9th. Now here's the thing, I'm seeing a lot of things that are full, but like literally the place closest to me, it's a short walk away, the pharmacy closest way, I can get an appointment right now on the 21st. Monday the 21st is where I can get an appointment. So it seems like there is a decent amount of availability here, and I guess if anything can avoid a trip to the hospital, it's worth it.
Yeah, no, and absolutely, and that's the main thing. Again, I think people became a little bit nihilistic during the pandemic. They sort of expect vaccines to either be 100% effective or useless. And I think in life, things are never 100% effective. They are not perfect, but they are helpful. And, especially for the people who are at higher risk, which is a significant section of the population. It makes a difference, and not having to go to the hospital with a severe pneumonia, that makes a big difference in terms of not just the quality of your life, but also the risk of long-term complications.
What's your pitch, Dr. Labos, to sort of reset the brain for someone who may just have vaccine fatigue, right? Like we got so many vaccines over the last few years, we're just like, oh, just leave me alone just for a bit, right?
Yeah.
What's your best pitch to reset that fatigue?
You would not make that argument when it came to seatbelts or airbags in your car, right? But we've become used to that as a standard feature. The reality is, unfortunately, COVID never went away in the same way that influenza never went away. It has unfortunately become a permanent feature of our lives, and until a newer type of vaccine gets developed that can completely eliminate it, it is going to become a regular thing, and every fall, you are probably going to have to get vaccinated against both plus or minus RSV if you're sort of in the age group. And so whatever happened in the past doesn't really matter. It only matters going forward. And going forward, it's really a question of how badly you want to get sick and how badly you want to wait in the emergency room for 18 hours if you're not doing well.
Let me just ask something. When I was sick a month or so ago, I don't know if it was COVID. I don't know if it was RSV. It could have been RSV. Yeah. I just don't know. Yeah. So if I don't know what I had, do I just get the COVID vaccine?
I think that's probably the safest bet, right? Because there's no harm to it, and you're not really losing anything at that point. At worst, it's just not going to be as effective as it would have been. But yeah, that is one of the problem with the lack of access to testing. It does make it that a lot of people are not sure whether they were sick or not. But in the face of uncertainty, I would probably just do it.
And speaking of those tests, right? I have a message from Sophia in Verdun who says, listen, I've got expired COVID test packs, right? At home. Can you use are they reliable? An expired test that you got during, a couple of years ago, is it reliable?
It is probably still reliable to some degree. The problem with the test is that after a while, the chemical reagents in it may not react for a positive test. So if your expired test comes back positive, that's probably a true positive. If it comes back negative, there's always the chance that the chemicals in there just didn't do the color change, which is required for you to see that there was COVID in the sample. So that's the worry with the expirations. It's that you may get false negatives from them.
All right, Dr. Labos, be well. Always a pleasure chatting.
Talk to you soon.